Welcome to the You Empowered podcast with your host, Justine Jetty. If you want to unlock your potential and step into the most authentic, healthiest, and happiest version of you, then you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into practical, evidence-based strategies for your habits, mindset, and health so you can create a life and a body you love. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the You Empowered podcast. Today I am joined by a special guest, Marja Captain, who is a menopause nurse specialist and a holistic movement coach. Marja, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So for Marja, for those that are listening or tuning in that don't know you, would you mind sharing a little bit about your story and how you came to be here today?
Yeah. So first of all, I don't normally sound like this. I just recover from a cold. I was born and raised in the Netherlands, and in 2012, I moved with my husband and 4 kids to Tapanui, where my husband is a GP. And I had a nursing background, but got myself retrained as a personal trainer because I still love to connect with people.
Yeah.
And in 2023, I had all these mental health issues, and looking back, a whole bunch of physical issues, which I found out later on were all related to the perimenopause. And once I got out on the other side, I asked my husband for all his upskilling because I felt that if I missed all these cues and my husband didn't see it, how many other women would be out there not knowing what was happening to them?
Yeah, wow.
And then I started upskilling myself. And in last year, I decided to do a nursing postgrad in menopause care. And that is a postgrad that doesn't exist in New Zealand. So I did it through the Dutch the Dutch education system. And 3 weeks ago, I received my diploma. So here I am.
Yay!
Yay. And the two of us
Big
connected.
celebrations.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely stoked with that. And we know each other through social media. So,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. No, I'm so excited to connect with you today, and I know you and I have had many conversations because we're both passionate about women's health and menopause specifically. But if you don't mind, I'd love it if you shared, because I know we've talked about this previously, but I think your story is a really powerful one, and what you just touched on there around like what you went through with both your husband being a GP and you going through that perimenopause experience where you mentioned you had a mental health issues, and then do you mind, like, just for any woman listening who may be perimenopausal, unaware, maybe she's struggling with her mental health or emotional well-being, what was kind of the turning point for you, or what was it along that journey, if you don't mind sharing, that kind of was the light in that darkness there, that kind of was like, oh, it's this, or like what led you to that conclusion? Because as you say, like there are a lot of GPs, there are a lot of doctors, there's still a lot of people in the medical field that are really unaware of what happens to a woman through perimenopause and even diagnosing it and things like that. So I would love it if you wouldn't mind sharing that part of your story.
So my story was that I had a Mirena, so I had no idea what my periods were doing or my bleeding was doing. I did not have any hot flushes. What happened to me looking back, I think I never really bounced back after my last child. That was 36. So I think my symptoms started around late 30s, which is early, but not too early.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. And I just didn't feel like myself for a long time. I felt disconnected within myself, towards my family, my work. And it's a slow progress. So you don't realize how you spiral in a certain way. And sometimes I had really good days or bad days. And sometimes when you're good, you forget the bad. And when you're bad, you forget the good.
Yeah.
And for me, the turning point was that in winter, I always struggle. And that winter of 2023, my winter blues was worse than normal. And I I just really struggled to find the joy, but the funny thing is I didn't feel depressed. It wasn't like that.
Mm,
Um, and we went away in a July holiday, and my husband was in one room with the kids watching movies and having fun. And all I could do in the other room is cry and waiting for the day to pass and not
mm,
being able to sleep. I was really anxious. I had heart palpitations, um, and other issues.
mm,
And for me, the point where I broke was when I found out that one of my clients, who I left behind, was terminally ill, and I would
mm.
be unable to say goodbye. And then my hairdresser canceled her appointment because she had COVID. Um,
Okay.
and for me, that was the point that I thought I can't live like this anymore.
Mm,
I made an appointment with my GP. I had to wait 3 weeks, and in those 3 weeks, I spiraled down even more. And I
mm,
made plans to end my own life. So I had the
mm,
means.
mm.
I had a plan. I just had to make sure that I didn't have the opportunity. And when
Okay.
my husband said, "Why don't you go to Queenstown?" because he knew something was really off.
Mm,
Um, and he suggested, "Why don't you go to Queenstown by yourself to, have a massage, have some nice food, go for some walks, and
yeah.
recharge?" And I thought, if I say yes to this,
Mm,
I won't be back
mm,
alive.
mm, mm,
For me, the way up was when I went to my GP, feeling like such a loser because here I was, the personal trainer, and I couldn't do it.
mm,
I did everything right. I did my exercise. I didn't do any alcohol. I tried to eat as healthy as possible. And yet
mm,
here I was. And when she asked me, "How are you doing?" all I could do was cry,
mm,
um, and felt like a failure. And then she said, "I think it's your hormones."
mm,
So she let me fill out a form,
mm,
um, and she gave me hormone therapy. I
mm,
asked for antidepressants as well.
mm.
Um, but antidepressants usually take a time to work. And
Yeah.
way earlier than that, I started to feel better.
Mm,
And um, I think it's fair to say that if it wasn't for hormone therapy, if I wouldn't have had a GP who was so clued up, I wouldn't have been here. So that
mm,
is my story. It
mm,
sounds really bad, but to be honest, I am incredibly grateful because
mm,
if I would have been one of the lucky people who would have just flown or sailed through perimenopause, I wouldn't
mm,
have done this. I wouldn't have upskilled myself. I wouldn't have
mm.
helped all these people.
Yeah.
So now I'm grateful for it. And
Mm,
I can stand in front of the women and say, "You are not alone. You are not
mm,
going crazy. Your
yeah.
husband does breathe the wrong way. There's nothing wrong with you. It's his fault. The way he chooses food is absolutely up to him. There is a way, there is support. I am in your corner. I'm here
Mm,
for you. So
mm.
that is the raw truth.
Yeah, and that's so powerful because you're right. Like, it's only until you've walked through something that you can really feel and know what it's like to go through that, and there is, I mean, even now, you'd think in today's day and age, there would be so much, like it would just be standard practice or standard procedure that most GPs and most, medical staff would be aware of peri and post menopause. I mean, it's something that literally every woman goes through one way or another. And yet the fact that, there's still so many elements that are still in the dark, the fact that, like you weren't aware of what was happening. And I think that is a really scary place to be. Like, I mean, you sound like someone who's got a very high level of self-awareness. But I can imagine someone who maybe doesn't have as much self-awareness, like for you to even like be able to be like, okay, I'm not my normal self, doesn't feel like depression. Like even having that awareness is really key to try and like ascertain what it was. But a lot of women are just like, I don't feel like myself and I have no clue what's going on,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm just curious, going back to help any woman listening to this right now, what was it that made you first decide to reach out to a GP instead of, say, a therapist or a psychologist? Because again, just being very logical here, someone going through that and knowing that something's off. What made you, I guess, make the decision to see a GP rather than another health professional, I guess, is my question.
Well, for me, I was suicidal, so I thought I need
Yeah.
antidepressants or
Right. And that's what led you to
something.
then go to the GP. Right. I
Yeah,
see. I
yeah.
see. I see. And would you say that even nowadays a lot of doctors misdiagnose perimenopausal women and put them on antidepressants rather than HRT? Is that something that's still an issue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
This morning I was talking to someone who went to the GP and their first line of treatment was antidepressants. But
mm,
she read up and she said, no, I want to try hormone therapy. Yeah. And
yeah.
to my husband is a GP. He works in a sole practice, and
Mm,
he says every morning there are new guidelines in my inbox, new guidelines for pediatrics, for osteoporosis, for thyroid issues, for pain relief, for the most high blood pressure, and then menopause comes into it. But
mm,
his because the whole healthcare system is so overwhelmed, what he does is go into that room and
mm.
deal with patients straight away. He doesn't have the time, three,
Of
four
course.
hours a week to actually read into the latest guidelines.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. So, having gone through this experience yourself with feeling suicidal, then figuring out it was perimenopause and being put on HRT, and as well, obviously seeing the other side,
Mm.
as you say, your husband being a GP, and knowing that it's not a case of like, direct negligence or GPs not caring, at least not for the most part. What do you feel is the solution then for both on the like for a woman listening to this who is in perimenopause but doesn't isn't aware of it and the steps she should take, but also on the medical side, what do you feel is missing? What do you feel needs to change?
Having nurses like me.
Mm,
Um, how it works in the Netherlands, they have these nurses, and either women can self-refer or these nurses work together with gynecologists, oncologists, or GPs.
okay.
The guidelines here in New Zealand are quite clear in what needs to be done. It is
Mm,
an utter illusion that doctors can do that in 15 minutes.
mm,
So, what I do and what the Dutch nurses do is they sit with women for an hour or an hour and 15 minutes, and they
mm,
go through how were your pregnancies because that determines your risk of cardiovascular disease.
yeah.
Are you maybe a person with ADHD or are you on the spectrum? How are you
Mm,
bleeding? How is your cycle? Do you have a history of osteoporosis or breast cancer? So
mm,
they sketch this whole picture of what has happened in the past, and
mm,
then they see people with the symptoms. Is it perimenopause, or it might be thyroid issues? It might be a vitamin deficiency. It might be high blood pressure. So
mm,
it might be sleep apnea. So
mm,
they kind of have, yes, it could be perimenopause, but what's my differential diagnosis? Then
mm.
they talk with the women if hormone therapy would be an option. Then
Okay.
they tell these women what the options are with the side effects.
Mm,
Then they send these women to the GP with this letter where everything has already been figured out. So the only thing the GP needs to do
mm.
is look at the letter, see if he agrees with it, and then sign off the prescription.
Okay, I see.
And in the Netherlands, it's even reimbursed by the health insurance because they found out, big surprise, that these nurses actually take away time and money from the healthcare system because women are not referred to cardiology with heart palpitations, rheumatology with sore joints,
Mm,
endocrinology with a flare-up of their celiacs or irritable bowel disease. And women feel heard and listened,
mm, mm,
and the GPs have a lot of free time. They don't get these women with all these random complaints, and they keep coming back because the issue has not been resolved.
mm,
So
mm.
that's really short for it. That's the reason why I did it. From
Yeah.
a woman point of view, if you would go to the Australasian Menopause Society
Mm,
website,
mm,
they have some great resources, and they have um, the climeric green scale or from the Australasian Menopause Society. If you Google it, scorecard AMS,
mm,
there is a scorecard that comes up. The GPs use that same card. So you're not doing anything from Instagram or anything. You use their own resources.
yeah.
And then you can step in and say, I would like to try, if that's you, try hormone therapy.
Mm. So a woman listening to this right now who's maybe in that place you were where in the dark, she knows she's not feeling herself, but she can't really pinpoint. Maybe she's seen maybe a few symptoms, but she's not really sure. So your advice is first point of call, go to the Australasian Menopause Society, do that checklist first. And then what happens from there? From that, does she get a report? Does she get feedback on what it is that then kind of points her in the right direction, or what kind of happens from
No,
there?
it is a PDF, so you just fill it
Okay.
out, and if your
Okay.
score is high, then
Hmm.
that might be an indication for estrogen deficiency, so that you are
Okay.
into perimenopause. Take
Hmm.
that card to your doctor, and then the doctor should exclude any other issues because you don't want to miss anything. So they might
Sure.
do some bloods just to see if they're not missing any thyroid issues, for instance, and then they can start a trial of HRT.
Hmm. Cool. Good. Good. And what would you say, based on, because you've obviously seen both sides, right? Like you've been in clinic, but you've also been on the gym floor, right? And so you've seen peri and postmenopausal women in both elements. What do you feel women need to know the most? Like at the moment, like with all your knowledge, 'cause you've got a wealth of knowledge, obviously, in this area, and feel free to obviously share more than one thing. But what do you feel are the main things that need to be spoken about more, and that women need to understand about themselves more through this stage of life?
If you want to live independently as you grow old, you are past, when you go through menopause, through perimenopause, you're basically not even half, you're past halfway your life. So you have
Mm,
less than half of your life left.
mm,
If you don't want to end up in a nursing home, you
mm,
need to start taking actions now. So
mm,
be aware of your personal cardiovascular risk, because for women, we don't even have an ambulance at the bottom of the cliff.
mm,
Um, and work on your strength to protect your bones.
mm,
So go to the gym, start working out, lift heavy, and what heavy is depends completely on you.
mm,
So for one woman, it might be lifting 10 kilos, and the other one can lift 20 kilos. It's
mm.
really individualized.
Sure.
Um, Prepare yourself for a healthy second half in a way that suits you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's incredible. That's such good advice. And what do you feel is the number one, like, what do you feel is the number one complaint or struggle that women come to you with? Like, what is the number one thing that you feel you hear time and time again for women who come to you who are just kind of figuring this stuff out? What do you feel is their number one kind of struggle?
Uh, they don't feel like themselves, and they don't feel that they are listened to.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
They are, their symptoms are downplayed either by themselves and or by partners, by work, by colleagues, by healthcare providers,
Mm.
um, by friends, by family. So
Mm.
it's incredibly lonely,
Mm.
the struggle that women have.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that's the one that comes back most in my clinic. Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say? I mean, you went through such a groundbreaking journey yourself, like from, feeling suicidal to coming out the other end. To me, from what I've seen with my peri and postmenopausal clients as well, advocacy seems to be the biggest thing, being able to advocate for yourself, especially as you say, because the medical system seems to just only now being starting to catch up. So, what would your advice be to a woman who perhaps has an inkling that she is perimenopausal? Maybe she's gone on the Australasian Menopause Society website, as you say, she's done the form, she's maybe even booked in an appointment with her GP. Something that I've heard a lot of my clients go through is they've had to see multiple medical staff because they just, as you say, haven't felt heard, haven't felt like they've been truly listened to or really understood with what's going on. So, what would your advice be to someone who's either like their temperament isn't really to advocate for themselves, they're quite happy to just people please and like let's move on and pretend everything's fine, or just doesn't know what to do? What would your advice be to a woman who does need to advocate for herself? How does she go about that? How does she start advocating for herself? What would you suggest that she do if, let's say, she's gone to a GP or she's gone somewhere hoping for answers but just feeling more alone in the process?
Bring a friend to
Mm-hmm.
an appointment.
Yeah.
Um, can be powerful.
Mm-hmm.
What I like to say to my patients is we are the first generation who refuse to be quiet. We are the first ones who
Mm-hmm.
actually stand up and start talking about it.
Yeah.
And change is being pushed by the people who are affected. If you are
Mm-hmm.
not affected, there is no need for you to change. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any male baldness issue, so I wouldn't care less if that is an issue or if we have new medicine because
Yeah.
it's just not on my agenda.
Yeah.
If I would be a healthcare provider and I would get one man with that issue, I think, oh, that's just a whinging man. But if I suddenly get 20, 30, 40, I was like,
Mm.
well, maybe I need to do something about it because now I get affected because I'm overrun with all these men
Yeah.
complaining about their baldness.
Yeah.
Although as women, we are two steps behind because we have been gaslit by the whole medical world for such a long time.
Yeah, of course.
Realize that we are part of something bigger. And if
Mm.
you get pushed back, if you need to visit three GPs, that means that three GPs will be affected by your visit. And the
Mm.
more we do that, the better
Mm.
it will be for the generations coming after us. But we are the
Mm.
ones who will be driving this ripple effect. So
Yeah.
absolutely go on you. Don't quit fighting for yourself until
Mm.
don't stop until you have your answers.
Mm.
Bring a friend who is happy to stir some stuff up. And
Mm.
if they are not giving you what you are after or were expecting, you can ask the questions, why not? Don't, because
Mm.
maybe there is a great reason behind it and
Mm.
you are just not aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And would
Yeah.
you say another good starting point is rather than maybe going to their GP, if it is just a regular GP where they might get put, there's a high chance, say they might get pushed back or they might not be fully understood, to even research and look at menopause specialists in their area or medical professionals who specialize in menopause so they can get that expertise and that understanding. And even if it is like maybe 20 more minutes of a drive out, it's worth it. It's worth it to have someone sit down with you who knows what you're going through and can give you more support, more tailored support than say someone who might have the title of GP, but if, just might put you on antidepressants or give you like a blanket, thing that's not meeting you where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. If you
Yeah.
do have the time and money to spare, a lot of the GPs work online as well. I work online as well.
Hmm.
Um, but if it would never be my first uh, call to do for these women, because if everybody just stays away from their GPs and go to the specialist, then the
Mm.
GPs won't get that push
Yeah,
or
of
that
course.
urgency to me. But
Yeah.
I do prepare them. Say, go to your GP with my
Mm.
letter. If you
Mm.
still get a pushback, I have a great network of GPs who I can refer you to, who
Yeah.
I know will be supportive in prescribing you hormone therapy or just listen to you on a different
Mm.
level than a regular GP do. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. So it's like go to the Australasian Menopause Society website, do the checklist, go to your regular GP. If they're not supportive or you don't feel fully heard or met where you're at, then look online or look in your area to find a menopause specialist, whether that's someone like yourself or a menopause doctor or someone that can actually that specializes in this and can actually give women the support they need and meet them where they're at.
Yeah. But you
Incredible.
do need to realize that doctors see a lot of patients who get their information online, and that could
Mm.
be from, I had someone like that who came to my clinic actually, who had read a research about certain supplements.
Mm.
And she said, I need this because this is the best thing to do
Mm.
according to the research. And we
Mm.
went through the research. Oh, no, I went to see this 20 plus year old chiropractor. He was
Mhm.
telling about what perimenopausal women should be doing.
Right.
According to this research, that research was a really small research that was done on 20 male mice.
Oh my gosh.
Well, And this guy had a huge following. So women's
Mm.
like, oh my God, the research shows that. So
Mm.
for me, I have the time to tease out that research.
Mm.
Doctors will get people who follow influencers left, right, and center who have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And you would be number 20 that day that said, but I saw online that the doctor's
Yeah.
checking out by that time.
Yeah,
So
of
be
course.
aware that if you say, I saw on the Facebook group, a
Yeah.
menopause support group, that this and this and this, then your doctor will be checking out because he has no idea what is true, what is scientifically backed up, and what not. But if you
Yeah.
will get your information from the Australasian Menopause Society, then you come with a sturdier thing. Just don't use the word social media or online because that's an instant itch point for a lot of doctors.
Of
Yeah.
course. And I mean, you and I could literally do a whole other podcast on the dangers of getting information on social media and influencer culture and the plethora of misinformation out there, not just on health and fitness, but on menopause. I
Yeah.
believe, like, you and I met in a menopause group online, and even the amount of misinformation on it's so that's the thing as well, is like totally appreciate women go on Facebook groups and stuff to connect with each other. And again, as you say, not feel alone, but definitely be mindful of the information you're getting, because as you say, just because someone's got, 20,000 followers on Instagram, and they're pointing themselves as a menopause coach, doesn't mean they actually have the full understanding or can fully understand where you're at. Looking for evidence-based coaches, and also doing I don't like advising people to do their own research, because sometimes when people say I've done my research, it's reading a newspaper article, and it's like that's not research. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you've got to be careful for when you see influencers and people with big followings online say, "Oh, I've done my research." In a very simple way, I try and teach this to people who are like, well, how do I know? Because there's so much conflicting information online. Is I go, well, you can always stand by meta-analyses and systemic reviews because of the abundance, because of the way they're done, and also the abundance of studies they pull through in the process. It is concrete because it's such a lot of data. It's not just one study or one group of things. So always looking at meta-analyses and systemic reviews. Obviously, there's other reputable sources there, but that's something that I just share. So if you've got an influencer that's just pulling this one article or this one paper or this one, journalistic review, treat it with caution, because anyone can cherry pick data. And the thing is, when you don't know how to read data, it's hard to then differentiate, right? You don't know
Yeah.
what you're looking at, and you're just like, oh, this person's pulled up this report, so therefore it must be accurate. And that's where I think a lot of confusion comes from, because I think we're living in a day and age where most people know now to be wary, not just to take someone at face value, in the sense of, like, we are very skeptical. We're living in a day and age where I think people are at the most skeptical, actually,
Yeah.
which I don't think is a bad thing, but it's also then understanding who to trust, and what information to trust, and what not. And as a rule of thumb, any coach that is evidence based is someone that is unbiased in their opinion, is hopefully unbiased in their opinion, where they're giving you straight facts from evidence based. They're not, putting their opinion in and being like, yeah, do this because I heard Susan down the road did it and had a great result.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm very passionate about that. As you know, we've talked about this previously, but it just irks me. Like, women in peri and postmenopause have it hard enough without the layer of confusing information and people jumping on the menopause bandwagon who, I'm not saying that all of them don't mean well, but they don't know what they're doing, and it causes more issues than good
Yep.
sometimes, for sure, for sure. With that in mind, would you mind sharing? Because I know that you and I've had really fascinating talks around, like, hormones and symptoms and all of that fun stuff. Would you mind sharing what are some of the symptoms or signs women can look for? What are some of the things you've seen both in clinic and in the gym, in terms of lifestyle habits and how those two kind of connect? And is there any, I guess, practical tips or things that let's say that going back to our process of like go to the Australasian website, go to your GP, maybe you get put on HRT, or you find a menopause specialist who goes through that process with you. For a woman who's not feeling like herself in her body, sleep's shot, all of like experiencing all these symptoms, what are some practical habits she can put in place that would support her, just starting at zero? Maybe she doesn't go to the gym yet, but she's conscious of her health. Like, what are some little things that she can do to support herself from a habits perspective, not just from a medical side?
That's a tough one. Because if you think about your own cycle, you might find that you might be a bit susceptible for mood swings before your period.
Mm.
Love eating more chocolate, growl a little bit, cry over a commercial, and that's a natural fluctuation of your hormones.
Mm.
In that transition to menopause, your last period,
Mm.
if you had your last period and you're post-menopausal, your hormones will be as steady as they can for the rest of their life. And your
Mm.
last time when you were as steady were when you were pre-teen, before,
Mm.
9 years old, 10 years old, and younger.
Yeah.
That transition, perimenopause, is hormonal chaos. So
Mm.
you might have a cycle with a great egg and you feel yourself, and then you might have a cycle with not that great of an egg. You might experience some symptoms. Symptoms can be minor, symptoms can
Mm.
be big. So if you consider that period, that transition, as a period of hormonal chaos,
Mm.
um, the biggest thing that I tell my patients is be kind to yourself. You try to survive
Mm.
in a period of chaos.
Mm.
If you look at your teenage daughter slamming the doors, rolling the eyes, she is in hormonal chaos as well.
Mm.
You women have it worse. Their estrogen goes way more up and down than in your teenage years.
Mm.
So if you do anything to improve your health, you're doing a great job.
Mm.
Uh, I I try to steer away at that stage, depending a bit on how women are, to building up habits, because a habit means that you have to be consistent. But if you had 3 really rough nights because you had hot flushes or because you were totally emotional, then grabbing an easy meal makes your life so much easier. I don't want women to feel guilty about it because the habit, between brackets, should be eating healthy and hit the gym a few times a week or move more.
Mm.
Um,
I
so
totally
tricky.
agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
it, ideally, what you want to do is work on a healthy diet, getting enough sleep and exercise. But
mm.
if because of perimenopause you have sore joints and muscles and
Mm.
achy feet or plantar fasciitis or whatever,
Mm.
then that's okay.
Yeah.
I had someone and she really, really struggled. She was having takeaways 6 days a week. Well,
Mm.
I don't need to tell anyone that that's not really healthy.
Mm.
Most
Mm.
women know what they should be doing, but they struggle
Mm.
because of all this chaos.
Of course.
And her alcohol use was well beyond what we consider healthy.
Mm.
And we got her back to having takeaways only 4 times a week, which is a
Mm.
massive win. But if
Yeah. Yeah.
someone goes from zero to having takeaways 4 days a week, that's a
Mm.
different story. Then I would say, oh, something is wrong. But going from 6 to 4 and half your alcohol intake, that's
Mm.
amazing. She's doing amazing. She's trying hard, and we celebrate every little success on the road. But we do know that things can go downhill as well, and that's fine too.
Yeah, I think what
Yeah.
you've touched on there is really important, a really important conversation to have, not just in the menopause space, but in the health and fitness space. And it's redefining what habit creation and habit consistency is. Because I don't know about your clients, but certainly with mine, when they come to me, a lot of women's definition of consistency is actually perfectionism. It's mass
Yeah,
perfectionism because it's them putting the pressure on themselves to have to show up at 100% every single day and show up the exact same every day. Whether that's I've got to hit 10,000 steps every single day, or whether it's, as you say, I've got to eat three healthy, solid meals every single day. And so if we can start to reframe that as it's you meeting yourself where you're at, knowing that your 100% is going to look different on any given day, then
yeah,
you're giving yourself that grace to still support yourself, but to meet yourself where you're at the same time. So it stops that pendulum swing of all or nothing, where it's either I'm being perfect, I'm having a great day today, and we're ticking all the boxes, or to the other extreme where it's like everything's shit and I'm just giving up, right?
yeah,
So I think that's important too, is to understand that being consistent isn't being perfect. It's
yeah,
meeting yourself where you're at. And as you say, like that's an incredible win for your client. Like it's not about going from 6 to 0. It's that incremental change that long term is going to make a massive difference in her life, which is incredible.
yeah. And I'm totally with you on that page because meeting yourself where you're at that time and that
Mhm.
day, that's all you can do. And know that this is a transition. It's not going to
Yeah.
last until the rest of your life.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
most consistent, happy, badass woman are postmenopausal women. I
Yeah.
just love them. They
Yeah.
just uh, I don't know if if I can say that here, but they just basically stop giving a fuck,
Yeah,
and
no, it's great. You can say that
they
here.
are cool. They just show up for themselves. They do things for themselves, and
Mm,
they don't care if you like it or not. They,
mm,
uh, so this is just a transition, and you at the other side, it will be great. There might be still some hiccups, but generally, women tell me this is actually the best part of my life. Yeah,
yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
that's
know who I
incredible.
am. I don't
Mm,
have those hormonal swings anymore, and
mm.
I am here for myself. Yeah,
I love that. That's amazing. That's amazing. Going back to what we said before around the confusion, right? Like, not just confusion around whether am I perimenopausal, am I not, but the plethora of misinformation. I think a lot of women get stuck, and I don't know, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this, but kind of can get stuck in the information trap of like, whether it's following influencers, even following doctors online, or as you say, chiropractors, random, people to try and piece together the information. Now, I know we've given all the listeners and viewers here a step-by-step process if they think they are perimenopausal, but do you have any specific menopause myths that you'd like to debunk right now? Any ones that you feel kind of keep coming up and are the main, I guess, culprits that you see are keeping women stuck?
yep. One is you can't balance your hormones with supplements.
Yes, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, that is absolutely. Uh, some supplements can support your system, so there is hope for women who can't take HRT or hormone therapy,
Mhm,
but they only do so much. They don't replace the hormones that you are losing.
mhm,
And myth number two is uh, hormone therapy doesn't cause cancer. Or the myth
mhm.
is it causes cancer. It
Yeah,
doesn't cause cancer.
yeah.
And that comes from a study, the WHI, which has been done over 20 years ago,
Mhm,
that was done with a type of hormone therapy that was not body identical. It were pills. So they are the worst hormone therapy basically you could get.
mhm,
The results were misinterpreted, but it went viral. And
mhm,
when it was debunked, there wasn't a press conference say, oops, we had it wrong. Actually, it's quite safe. They kept it
mhm.
quiet, not admitting
Okay.
that they were wrong. And that
Mm,
is the reason why a lot of doctors still think it causes cancer.
I
Because
see.
at the time when that study came out, they went public with it. It was in every
Mm,
newspaper. It was the talk of the day. And
mm,
when that information was debunked, there wasn't the same interest of the uh, of the press. And still, some studies recite that same study, 2002. That's 23 years ago. We have a lot more data that says something else. We improved our medication, the way of administration, everything that we use is a lot safer. Do we know for sure that some stuff is safe on the long term? No, we don't, because these new hormone treatments haven't been on the market that long. But we suspect strongly that it is safer, but we don't know until 20, 30 years from now.
Of course. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is the way with medical research. That's normal
Yep.
process. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. Any other myths there?
Uh, oh, I think these are the two major ones
Mm,
that
mm,
yeah. So once you had your last period, you are post-menopausal or in menopause, and
mm,
you will be there for the rest of your life.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, incredible, incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge. Is there anything that we haven't covered yet that you'd love to share for any woman listening to this that you wish that she would know, even about you and your journey, or just any advice that you'd love to share that we haven't covered
Um,
yet?
oh gosh. If you are in a family and your children are diagnosed with ADHD or autism,
Mhm,
and they don't have it from their dad, uh, it is likely that they might get it from you.
mhm,
Uh, Women with ADHD have to work twice as hard in their normal life, and
mhm,
they kind of get on. They are incredibly strong women.
mhm,
When estrogen starts to drop, dopamine starts to drop, and
mhm,
dopamine is low in women with ADHD. That's when
mhm,
their life starts to fall to pieces.
mhm.
They might get diagnosed with borderline issues, with oh, what else did we have? All sorts of psychiatry being thrown at them.
Mhm,
But basically, it's just perimenopause. They tend to go through perimenopause earlier, for longer and more
mhm.
intense, and go. They notice it mostly of a severe or an increase in their PMS, PMDD, or even PME.
Okay.
So for them, if you are in a household with a lot of ADHD people and they don't get it from their dad, and you feel that you are all alone, even in your 30s,
Mm.
uh, know that that could be a cause, because that's
Mm.
really undertreated ADHD in women. Yep.
I wanted to ask you actually, you've just reminded me because I was going to actually ask you the link between perimenopause and ADHD because I've seen it in a lot of my clients where they have gotten diagnosed later, like they didn't know they had it. And then when perimenopause, they went through the process because there is a special test and process you can go through to get it. Is the link that as estrogen drops, as you mentioned, like, because obviously, and this is something that doesn't get talked about enough in menopause, is so many people talk about the physical symptoms of menopause, like, joint aches, brain fog, irregular, cycles, but we don't talk enough about the emotional well-being and the mental health side that as you've experienced yourself, but also so many women part of them being in the dark is because it's not a tangible thing. It's not, oh, my knee's really sore or like my cycle's haywire and I'm just up, everything's like, because they've got nothing tangible to pin it to, it kind of goes in the like kind of gets overlooked, if you will, around the mental health side of things. And so and there's a lot of research, and please like feel free to share anything here around menopause and its link obviously to the brain and the neuroreceptors and everything there. So is the link between perimenopause and ADHD that as estrogen drops, dopamine drops with it, and that's where women have those adverse side effects, or do you mind sharing like what is the link specifically around perimenopause, ADHD, and how can a woman, like you've mentioned beautifully there, if her children have ADHD or and it's not from the father side, that she should be mindful. But yeah, I'm just curious, is there anything else where she can kind of identify it sooner rather than later and get herself the support she needs.
Uh, yeah. So a lot of ADHD symptom checker or get you diagnosed has been based or have been based on male and men, and women have
Mm,
different symptoms.
mm,
So again, that's a tricky one. That's why women get diagnosed later on.
yeah.
Yes, uh, serotonin, dopamine, and estrogen. You can see estrogen as the conductor of all sorts of hormones. When
Yeah.
estrogen is there, everything's kind of into place. When estrogen starts to walk away, all these instruments start to do funky stuff.
Mm, mm, mm,
That's why you see with, I would say, um, women in general, that if their dopamine drops a little bit, they do things to make them feel better.
mm,
So you are more susceptible to get hooked up to, oh no, that's not the word, addicted
mm,
to. So that could be something like online shopping. Your dopamine is low. You
mm,
want to feel better about yourself, so you start to order stuff.
mm,
It could be because it could be something like food. You normally were pretty good, but just like when you're low just before your period, you want to have the crave
mm,
of chocolate.
mm.
Unfortunately, when we want to feel good about ourselves, we're not craving a carrot stick or some celery. It's that fatty, salty, comforty food.
Yeah. Highly palatable food. Yeah.
Yes, it could be alcohol.
Mm,
It could be maybe gaming or something else.
mm,
Uh, and women with ADHD are even more susceptible to that. So it could be alcohol, drug, smoking, gaming, or risky
mm,
behavior,
mm,
which is linked to ADHD anyway. So they have it times 10 worse.
mm.
Um, so I'm not quite sure if I answered your question, but
No, no, you did. Yeah, yeah. Because I
okay.
was asking what the link was between ADHD and perimenopause,
Yep,
and like,
yep.
so that a woman listening again, if she's not sure, or maybe she might have had like she was like, no, I'm not ADHD, and now listening to you, she's like, oh, actually, I don't need to like thinking about it. I think it's always good to give people clarity and
Yep. What I
and
can do, because there is a Dutch psychiatrist who has been spit on for a long time because
oh,
she was fighting for girls with ADHD. She has done a great webinar about girls with ADHD and the link in hormones. I can
mm,
see if I can find it and then send you the link so you can share it. Yeah,
yeah,
it is in
beautiful.
English. It is a really good one. Yeah.
Incredible. No, that would be amazing. Thank you. That would be, and yeah, and I'll post it in the show notes. I'm obviously going to post where you want people to find you in the show notes too. So, like, where would you like people to go? Do you have a website? Is there social media? Like, where would you like people to find you after this?
Yeah, so I have a website, movingforlife.co.nz.
Hmm.
Don't try to spell my name because it's Dutch. You won't go anywhere.
I'll put it
If
in the show notes. I'll put it
oh,
all in the
good.
show notes for you.
Well, then if you Google my name, you should find me quite easily because it's not a common name. But
Yeah.
movingforlife.co.nz, that's where my website is, and that I am on my own name and under Moving for Life, I think 2020 something, uh, on my socials as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, incredible, incredible, Maya. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up today? I just thank you so much for being here. Like you've got such a wealth of knowledge and it's such a pleasure to listen to you speak. And I know that this, episode's gonna help a lot of any woman who's not sure if she's perimenopausal, is menopausal, like I know it's gonna help a lot of women. So I really appreciate your time today. Yeah, is there anything else you'd like to share or finish on?
Um, 80% of the women will get symptoms when they go through menopause. So you are
Mm,
definitely not alone.
mm,
20% of that 80% will get severe symptoms. So I've taken one for the team. Thank you. Uh, oh no, I should say, well, you're welcome. Um,
mm.
but if you are sailing through, uh, know that you're a minority. If you have struggles, know that you're the majority. Talk, because once you start to open up, you will hear so many other women sharing their stories, and they too think that they are alone. And if we
Mm.
want to have this change being pushed together, we all are uh, sharing and sharing knowledge and experience is valuable for women in a cafe listening in, or a niece or a daughter or a husband of
Mm,
someone or a colleague. They might
mm,
think, oh my God, that's too much information. But they too are married to a woman. They too have
mm,
sisters or
mm,
daughters or colleagues. So
mm,
the more we talk about it, the more we help each other and
mm.
other generations coming after us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the show notes the Australasian website link. I'm going to put your link to your website, and I'm going to, once you send it through, I'll put that link as well to that webinar you were talking about. But Maya, thank you so much for being here today. So appreciate you. And yeah, I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Oh, yeah, we will. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.